The number one piece of advice I give everyone, every time, is to build the business that you want to run.
At Aroma Cafe in Studio City. I'm Jen Hacker, and with me I have the gal behind the brand gals, Kelsey Borlan Lee.
Yes.
Okay. So I obviously know about the brand gals, but for those who have never heard of it, I'd love for you to just tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
Yes, we would love to tell you. So what we do is we work with small businesses and entrepreneurs to develop their brand, and we take a very sort of white glove, all-inclusive approach because I came from a photography background, and so I sort of started doing photography and started seeing my beautiful photos ending up on not so beautiful websites, and I realized I wanted to have a bigger part in the whole process. And so we include everything from logos, fonts, colors, handcrafted website. We take photos of our clients. We include about page of copy. We do branding on all social media outlets. We really try to include as much as we possibly can in our package.
That's awesome. It's perfect for people who are just getting started. Just need like a one-stop shop.
Yeah, definitely.
Need everything done and don't really know where to get started.
Yeah.
So it's interesting what you said about you were a photographer.
Yes.
And you started realizing that your photos were ending up on websites that didn't really match the quality of the photo that you had taken.
Yeah.
So is that where the idea for the Brand Gals first came?
You know, it is. Yeah. We when people ask me about my process and my journey in my business, all I can say is it's been an evolution.
Okay.
Because it's like, again, I sort of picked up a camera for the first time after like 5 years when my son was like 2 months old. And I was just wanting to be home with him more, and I felt like photography was the way to do that. And then I realized pretty quickly I did not like taking pictures of kids and families.
So you started with kids because you had a son.
But kids don't listen. They don't listen. And so I realized I want to work with grown-ups because grown-ups listen.
Grown-ups will, depending on what you're asking them to do, may or may not do it.
Yeah.
But everyone wants their picture to look good, so they're more likely to.
Yes, exactly. And so I was doing it. I was doing photography for entrepreneurs, and that was what I was doing. And I was laying in bed one night, and all my craziest ideas come to me when I'm laying in bed when I'm supposed to be sleeping.
Right.
And so it came to me, and I just realized I was like, oh my goodness, like I can do more. Like I've built enough websites for myself because branding is nothing for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
I built enough websites for myself. I knew enough about WordPress. I was like, okay, I can at least help people get to like a functional place in their business that like at least matches the level of the photos that I'm taking.
Yeah.
And then it's just grown from there.
Okay, so you're laying in bed. Idea came to you. You're like, I've got enough experience. I think I can do it.
Yeah.
When you woke up, like what was the first thought that you had? Like what was step one? Because that's what I'm always so curious about, because I think a lot of us get those like middle of the night ideas, or like you're in the shower and you're like, I've got it.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
And then don't know where to go with it from there.
That's a good question. For me, my first thought is always just go. For me, I have to move forward always. And so the first step was like, okay, let's just get this started. And then the second step was sort of researching. The thing with WordPress is that you use themes, and that's the only thing I knew how to do at the time. It was just work with WordPress and work with themes, but each theme is different. So I started doing some research, and I knew that, if I was going to do this for people, I had to offer at least somewhat of a variety of themes. So I started researching that kind of bit to make sure that I could do it and that I'd have enough variety for people. And then I just kind of started putting together sort of like what the experience would be for people and like what all I could include. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, I'm always so fascinated by like those very first steps. It's like you take the idea, and then for you, it was like just digging deeper and making sure you really understood the space and like what it is that you would actually offer that would be different than what other people were offering.
Right. Well, I have to say though, the funny thing for me is that I learned pretty quickly in my business that what works for me is to not pay very much attention to what other people are doing. Because all I do is just get overwhelmed with everything I feel like I should be doing, rather than being focused on like exactly what I need to be doing. And so, other than like when I'm seeking inspiration, I spend very little time looking at what other people are doing. I just can't. I figure out what I'm supposed to be doing.
Really interesting. I think it's really interesting.
It just gets to a point where it gets just overwhelming and saturated, emotionally.
I can see that. I think that's where you could get caught up in maybe I don't know enough. I don't have anything unique to offer. Why should I even get involved in this?
Well, there's always going to be someone doing what you want to be doing better. Like, the reality is it's very uncommon to be doing something completely unique. There's always going to be people in a similar space doing something similar. And even if, like, maybe what they're offering is different or, there's, like, fundamental differences, you're still going to feel that sense of, like, competition.
Yeah.
And so, I just try and kind of keep my nose out of it.
What you don't know won't hurt you.
I guess so.
But I'm curious. So, what does the Kelsey brand look like?
Well, when I was going through my first branding process, I for the first time in my life embraced the fact that I'm a little bit boring, but I like it. And I'm totally okay with it. I don't like a lot of colors. I don't like a lot of anything. I like simple. So the Kelsey brand is a lot of solid colors that are mostly black and a little bit of white and a little bit of gray. You can see it here today.
The way my brand looks online is exactly the way that my brand looks in person.
It is. I mean, I like to be bold in my simplicity. Is sort of the way that I guess I would approach it. I like things to be very clean, very simple, but then I like to be able to put a big pow in there because I love detail. I love detail. I love sparkly things. I love beauty. I love all of that. But for me, where I feel that comes out the truest is when you're able to keep it simple and those things really stand out. And so that's the Kelsey brand.
So you've been evolving the brand Gals now. Started as a photographer and then brought on a designer to help do some of the work and have really just now been growing your team. And what's that been like for you to see like, your business grow? And what are some of the challenges maybe that have come with that?
Gosh, I could write a book. Watching the team grow, I mean, yes, part of, I would say almost like the biggest part of the evolution is just always wanting to do better and be better. I realized, maybe like 6-7 months ago that I love working with our clients, and it's such a beautiful relationship that we have. And at the same time, I want not, and in no way do I want to stop working with our clients because I love that work, but I also want to be part of sort of a greater cultural conversation. I want to influence the way that people do business, and I want to influence that people do business well. And for me, branding is just a massive cornerstone of that. And so that's definitely been a huge piece. And then as far as growing our team, I mean, I could say the number one thing I could say is it's humbling. It's a humbling thing to realize that I can't do it all by myself anymore, and that I'm actually reliant on other people, and yet the buck still stops with me. So that's kind of a tough balance where it's like, hey, maybe it wasn't exactly my fault, but it's absolutely my responsibility. And so kind of just always being aware of that balance is interesting, but it's also a beautiful thing. I feel like the challenge to growth, which we experienced rapid growth, and the challenge for that for us was a lack of infrastructure. And so we had to learn the hard way, I kind of jokingly say I'm in no man's land between being a creative and being like a business
Yeah.
person. So I'm like kind of right in between. And so, creating systems is not my strength, but at the same time, I see the need for it.
Right.
And so it was a lot of like learning that stuff as we went to realize, these XYZ things have to be in place. Our timeline is incredibly important, and being able to be very clear with their clients about what they can expect from us and what we expect from them has just been incredibly important. And as a result of being clear on those things, that's when the team growth has been because everyone did sort of step into their most natural role and the things that they're really good at, and then everything just goes. It just goes because I'm doing what I need to be doing, because other people are doing the things I'm not good at doing, but they're amazing at it.
Right.
And it's fantastic.
That's good.
So
It's
yeah,
really
I feel like
good.
we're in a good place right now.
What is it that has made you successful? Like, what is, when you're in stride, what are you doing best?
Like I said, I'm just going.
As long as you're moving, that's your trait. That's like your.
I've got to keep
success.
going. Yeah, I think the thing is that like it's so easy to feel overwhelmed, and again, like that comparing thing is just an absolute pit of like despair. So don't compare.
Don't compare. Don't compare. If any
compare.
lesson you take away from today, don't compare.
Don't compare, and just do what you do and keep moving. So for me, I need to be in action, and if I'm not like in an actionable place with my business, and it really affects even me personally. And so that's when I'm doing the best, is when I'm dreaming big and moving forward with those dreams.
So how do you stay inspired to like think about what's coming next?
To always have a never-ending to-do list.
Yeah.
that list sure keeps me
You just
going.
keep adding. Whenever you have ideas, are you just like writing them down?
I have lists everywhere. I have journals that come with me everywhere I go. I have notes on my phone from, again, way too many crazy things come to me in the middle of the night when I'm supposed to be sleeping. And so I write them on my phone.
Okay.
And so I think that, just always kind of being aware of, like, even if you're not ready to start on that big idea right now, taking the time, like allowing yourself the space to kind of flesh it out a little bit. Think about it, write it down, think about how it could work. And even if you know that, like, okay, now is not the time, I have all these things going and these need to come to fruition before this is going to make sense, just giving yourself that creative space to say, like, no, like, this is going to happen, it's just not yet. And so I would say that, really, really keeps me inspired, because there's always just another idea, there's always another big goal. And as long as there's always something to strive towards, I don't feel like it ever gets boring.
Does it ever get scary? Like, are you ever afraid of, like, when you wake up, like, what am I going to do? Where's it going?
Oh, every single day.
Every single day.
Yeah.
That's normal.
I think that one of the best piece of advice that I like to give people is, that sounded terrible, one of the best pieces of advice I like to give people is that you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because there's never going to be like this end point where you're like, okay, now I've arrived. Because that's when you're going to die. Like, literally, that's when you're going to lose all inspiration and hope and not want to do your business anymore. Like, there's always going to be more to do. And so you're always going to have to be growing, which is always uncomfortable. You're always going to be trying something new. You're always going to be learning. And sometimes those lessons aren't easy, and sometimes it is intimidating to wake up on a Monday morning and be like, either, oh my gosh, I have so much to do, or what am I supposed to be doing again?
Yeah, I think that's the scarier part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so it's, I don't know, I'm learning as I go about balance, and when I'm able to keep things more balanced, then it's a little less scary when I wake up and I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, because, I haven't lost track of my friends, I haven't lost track of my family, and things like that. So.
Is there anyone in your life that helps you maintain that balance? Or do you feel like you just like powered through and figured it out?
I think, well, I mean, my husband is just sort of like that natural litmus, of like, he's like, you're going to work again tonight, So there's definitely that bit of it. But also, I actually do think that sort of, being careful about who you follow online, because I actually find that the people that I follow actually kind of keep me really, like, inspired and focused in that way. And I like seeing that other, like, people who are even way more successful than myself, I like seeing them take downtime.
That's really, really interesting. I think that's such a great point.
It helps.
Who are some of the people that you follow? What do you like to follow?
I follow some really cool people. One of my favorites is Hillary Rutherford. It's Rushford or Rutherford, I can never remember because I have it in my head. And she is a stylist in New York, and she is just a firecracker. Like, she is a blast to watch. I really enjoy following her. And she, I feel like, does a good job of, she's a powerhouse. She goes all the time, but then she shares about, her struggles, and she shares about her downtime, and that is encouraging. This woman is going all the time, but at the same time, like, she has that balance. And so, just as a mom and a wife and a business owner, it's encouraging because it feels like sometimes it gets really, really intense. There's just so much to do, and how do I balance all of that? And so, it's encouraging to see that other people not only know what I'm going through, but they do find a way. And so
I really love that because it's so good. It's so good because you can look at certain people and be like, how the hell do they just keep going? And then there's this mentality around the fact that if you're going to be successful, you should never stop. You just have to, always be on, hustle. And the minute you stop, someone's getting ahead of you.
Yep.
And then you burn out. Totally. And then you hate what you're doing, can't keep with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get started, and then a year later, you're just done. Mm-hmm. It's just not sustainable.
It's not. And I think that's also especially when you're first starting out, because having a team really helps balance that out. So I definitely encourage outsourcing as quickly as possible, building that into your infrastructure and your systems early on, so that people can just help you. You don't have to have a full-time assistant. You can get a VA, or you can get somebody to edit your photos, or you can get somebody to do these little things that don't cost you that much money, and they cost you joy. So,
price of joy is priceless.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Is there anything else that you would recommend to a young woman who has an idea that she wants to act on? You said some really good things, but any last words that you would recommend to just take that first step and get going?
Yes. The number one piece of advice I give everyone, every time, is to build the business that you want to run. So this is part of that piece of not listening to everybody else and not paying that close of attention, because you will be drowning in a sea of shoulds, all these things you should be doing, and it is so overwhelming. And so I just really encourage people to make sure that if you don't want to blog, don't build blogging into your thing. You know what I mean? If that's just not
to do it.
Yeah, if you hate writing, then don't make a huge part of your business about writing. Because somebody will tell you that you should, because blogging is good for SEO, and it's good for this, and it's good for that. Figure out another way, to communicate what you need to communicate. So that's it for me. It's just build a business that you want to run. I realized for me, it's in the fall of last year that my business was getting to a point where I was not, and I was like, I can't do it like this forever. This is not sustainable for me. I was stressed out. It was just not fun. And so that's when it took that step back, had to choose a tough decision, even around Christmas, to say, I'm not going to take on more clients right now. I have to wait and book them for the new year, because we need to regroup and fix whatever is not been working. So that's my biggest encouragement, is just make sure that you don't drown in a sea of shit. Focus on what you do really well and do it really well.